But we begin with the latest on the war with Iran and a potential memorandum of understanding on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Sources tell CBS News and a tentative agreement has been reached, but it still requires approval from the president. Meanwhile, Iranian officials insist a deal has not been confirmed. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance on where things stand.
I think it's hard to say exactly when or if the president's going to sign the MOU. We're going back and forth on a couple of language points. I do think that we've made a lot of progress here. It's very clear that I think the Iranians, they want a deal, and they want to open the Straits of Hormuz. We want them to open the Straits of Hormuz. There are a couple of issues on the nuclear stuff, the highly enriched stockpile, and also the question of enrichment. So, we're going back and forth with them.
Okay, let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Hey, Ed, so what will it take to get President Trump's signature on this agreement?
Well, it's going to take the meeting that he tells us is apparently underway right now. Just a few moments ago on Truth Social, the president saying he's set to meet with his national security team to discuss the latest version of this negotiation and saying in part, again, outlining what he believes are the musts for this agreement. Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. The Hormuz Strait must be immediately open. No tolls for unrestricted shipping traffic in both directions. All water mines, if any, will be terminated. And later says that ships caught in the strait due to our naval blockade would be able to start the process of heading home should it be agreed to. He reiterates that no money will be exchanged until further notice, which leaves open the possibility that the billions that have been frozen for various reasons over the last several years that are Iranian assets might eventually be unfrozen. Other items of far less importance have been agreed to. I'll be meeting now in the Situation Room to make a final determination. So we've been waiting for his response to this latest round of the negotiations that concluded at some point yesterday. And what he's saying now is I'm about to hold this meeting to sort out if I'm okay with it. But even if he's okay with it, we also got to hear from the Iranians, and we have not yet done that. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, in the last hour appeared alongside his Pakistani counterpart here in Washington. The Pakistanis, of course, have played a key role in mediating this dispute, hosting the first rounds of talks between the Vice President and Iranian leaders, and have been engaged ever since. So we may be inching closer here, Mugo, to some kind of resolution, or at least a go or no-go on the latest rounds of talks. Remember, there have been a handful that were rejected either by the Americans or the Iranians, but it looks, at least the President is suggesting, that unless or until the Iranians agree to all those things, never have a nuclear weapon, reopen the strait, hold off on any unfreezing of your assets, we're good to go, and we may get closer to a resolution of this.
And I'm kind of curious about your take on this, because it seems like during certain times during this war, we've sort of gotten close to an agreement, and then it turns out there's really nothing there. Do you think this is a step? Are we getting a step further than we've ever been before when it comes to an agreement?
Not necessarily, because it just sounds like they're reviewing the latest version of it, which he's had to do a few times before. So unless or until both sides are saying yes, we haven't really gone further than we've gone before. We've gone several rounds on this now over the last several weeks, and this appears to just be the latest of it. The President at least providing an update that he's heading into this key meeting in the Situation Room, and we'll be here standing by to see if we get some kind of a response.
All right, Ed O'Keefe at the White House for us today. Thank you so much. And now let's turn to CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson. Ellie, thanks for your time today. Can you take us through what's in the tentative agreement? And also, is it possible that there are any sticking points here?
Well, I think that Truth Social that Ed read kind of lists what the sticking points could be, because from that Truth Social, we kind of know what President Trump wants to be in this deal, but we haven't heard from Iran what it will agree to. What we've heard from officials is that this could be a two-phased approach. The first would be to immediately reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which, remember, was open before the conflict began, but since the war began 3 months ago has been closed, which has impacted the global economy. And currently, Iran is trying to create this new normal where it will control the strait in the future. The U.S. wants to stop that, and that's why it would be the first part of this agreement. And then after that, they would work out some of the thornier issues like the nuclear program, which started it all. I will say that earlier this week, there were exchanges of fire. Iran did threaten the strait again by dispatching mine-laying boats and Iranian drones. U.S. forces and what the military calls defensive strikes intercepted those drones and bombed those speedboats to prevent any threats. But in the face of those exchanges of fire, the U.S. is maintaining that the ceasefire is holding. That shows that President Trump, despite his repeated threats to return to a bombing campaign, is at least right now willing to accept those limited exchanges, keep the ceasefire going so that there's time for talks to work towards an agreement that could alleviate some of the economic pain, and then later down the line try and resolve some of the key issues like the nuclear program.
Yeah, and Ellie, we understand talks between Israeli and Lebanese military officials are happening today at the Pentagon. What are the expectations given the continued fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah?
And we're told that the talks began at the Pentagon early this morning. Not sure if they've concluded yet. There have been previous rounds between Israel and Lebanon at the State Department to talk about how to stop the threat of Hezbollah, but this is the first one at the Pentagon for military officials. The talks come after both Hezbollah and Israel have kind of violated the fragile ceasefire that's been in place for about a month now, and comes just a day after Israel kind of expanded its offensive campaign into Lebanon by bombing suburbs near the capital of Beirut. That's the first time that area has been attacked since almost a month, and really goes to show that this ceasefire in that conflict is also pretty fragile.
Yeah, we'll see what comes next. Ellie Watson, thank you so much for your time today.